but there is one big exception, and that's going to be at the hands of Fiora, the Riposte. It does come at a bit of a cost, 2 energy, 2 power, but you're able to counter any spell. You can even counter a time warp if you needed to do so. So really powerful signature spell. I would imagine we're going to be seeing it here in our grand finals, but enough of the talking. Let's go ahead and jump straight into the grand finals. I know these players said they're ready, so let's type the word start and let's jump into our grand finals matchups for today. I did indeed let these players know to start, so they should be starting anytime soon. As we said, Fiora on the top, named VDL. I believe his Discord name is Gopher, if you guys know him in the Discord. Versus Sivir, the player we just saw, goes by Newrof. I hope I'm saying that right, but starting off with that Charlie Merchant and then curving out decently good with the Honest Broker, just allowing to get some more gold tokens. You know, that's something I don't see too often with Fiora decks, is token generation. Have the Fioras you've seen, and they lean towards the kind of develop some gold tokens as well?
I personally was playing Honest Broker in my deck, not playing a ton of 2-drops, but Broker was one. I was also playing the Assault part. What? Oh, okay, so we're using a Sabotage. Dang, really early Sabotage, but I don't hate it. Get a peek, probably. I actually don't know. Maybe it's the Punch First. I mean, Punch First, very powerful card, but I was gonna say probably the BF Sword or the Doran's Blade here. Get rid of the equipment, make Fiora a little bit harder to trigger. But as I was saying, we were mostly playing the Poro with Assault, because if you give it a Doran's Blade, then it becomes mighty off of the Assault, right?
Okay.
So, but doesn't look like that is what we have seen yet. Obviously, we've seen the Honest Broker. Fiora does have the archetypal 2-drop, the Unsung Hero, I believe its name is. When it becomes mighty, you do draw. It has a death knell of drawing 2. I personally found it a little bit hard to trigger consistently, because you need like the BF Sword on it, or like a essentially 3 might buff, which didn't feel the easiest. But hey.
Quite the aggressive Punch First on the offense. Usually we're seeing it in terms of defending a battlefield, but trying to push forward. Of course, the Fiora trigger, the Fiora legend ability does end up triggering because you go up to 7, going over the 5 mighty threshold, but the fight or flight getting played down. Do you have the Riposte as early as turn 2? And it is going to be coming down, countering the fight or flight just for a little Traveling Merchant, but is all about tempo in this game, right? So you don't want them. I mean, we're talking about just having 2 to 3 cards a piece, so I feel like that was decently worth it. How do you feel about that?
I mean, it's interesting because it's an incredible tempo play, and we did know the Fiora's entire hand, right? Like, it was the Unsung Hero and the Doran's Blade. So there isn't really a lot going on. I guess the idea is you need your units, otherwise you're playing with this Fiora and, again, the Unsung Hero, but yeah, you can't even really make the Unsung Hero mighty in a way that's going to trigger its draw. So just trying to filter and find better stuff, I guess. But like you said, it's very tempo, and I don't know if it's worth it here. It seems not so much worth it, as the hand seems pretty dead. There's the Fiora, the yellow Fiora does exist, but
you know, with the hindsight knowledge of the Sivir champion coming down with Accelerate, it doesn't feel as worth it as I was imagining, because you didn't have any kind of tools to defend from that kind of push. So you got the 1 conquer point, but I mean, unless you really value getting a gold token on your turn from that death knell, I guess that makes it somewhat worth it. But now you're just 4 runes, and I believe you were the one on the, actually no, Sivir was the one on the playing the Traveling Merchant first, but either or, you were on the draw. You're supposed to have more runes than your opponent, down to just 4 because of the Riposte costing so much. But let's see now. Okay, I like this. How do you feel about playing the original yellow Fiora in this new Fiora Legend?
Yeah, so this is one of the things that me and my testing group were on the fence about, is if you play the 3-drop Fiora as your champion unit or the 4-drop Fiora. And the reason being is, despite the 3-drop Fiora just being the best utility, right? Being able to make pretty much any of your units into Accelerate, the 4-drop Fiora is so value, right? You get ganking, deflect, like it's so good.
And the shield, 3 effects in one, and it doesn't cost any power. I feel like that's a powerful unit. But I can see it's kind of iffy. I haven't seen a lot of Fiora builds not include her, but it looks like this finalist does decide to put it in the build. Firefly gets played out on the Sivir, most likely, effectively working as a ganking option, conquering the Sunken Temple up to 4. And spreading the distance on that point, so 4-1. You don't get the Sunken Temple trigger since the Sivir Mercenary was just at 4 current might. Does have 3 runes available. We saw one. Actually, no, I'm getting confused with these both body legends. There was a punch first on Fiora's side. We haven't seen any kind of punch from Sivir. We did see semifinals. Sivir had so many of them. I'm willing to bet, NA, there's one lingering in the hand right now.
Yeah, this is going to be a big combo turn for Fiora here. You can go ahead and conquer with Fiora here onto Zon. Oh, okay. I guess not going to do that. My thought was that you could go for a conquer with Fiora onto Zon, play out your 3-drop Fiora Worthy, and then while Fiora is on the Zon, you could play out, equip your Dorn Blade to the Fiora Victorious, which then triggers your leader to ramp 1 and your Fiora Worthy to ready the Fiora Victorious, and then you can just gank over. But foiled by the dastardly punch first.
Right, and we had a gut feeling that Sivir did indeed have it, and that she did. So defending it quite well. The Sivir going to be holding on to that Sunken Temple, most likely going to be conquering up to 5, or not conquering, but holding up to 5 points, spreading the distance between both of these legends. And man, this is getting awfully dangerous for Fiora. She's usually the one, as we talked before we got into this match, the one kind of pushing the tempo, as he was trying to do early on with that early game repose, but now forcing to go with the chosen champion to try to push forward doesn't feel that good. But Sivir doesn't want to give away anything whatsoever. The fight or flight coming down almost feels unnecessary, but I mean, Sivir's the one in these grand finals, so he knows what he's doing, going up to 5, and things are looking rather good for Sivir. I mean, Fiora with just 2 cards in hand, honestly, how much is she able to get done in these next couple turns with this kind of hand advantage?
Yeah, this is one of the things that we were talking about on the break. Is one of my issues with the Fiora deck is that it doesn't have a lot of accessible draw, and you are reliant on your Sunken Temple. You're reliant on, if you play it, there's the Jax engine where the Jax is going to draw off of your equips. You have Kiana, and that's really it.
Jeez.
Which, that's rough.
Yeah, this hand control is phenomenal from Sivir, especially from, wait, you guys heard it again. Oh my goodness, what is wrong with me? From Sivir coming down, taking out the BF sword, and that sabotage, that is the second one coming down in this game number 1, being quite impactful. And speaking of second cards, that's going to be another punch first, protecting for the second time in this game 1 of our grand finals. And that Fiora player has had enough. He said, how much more punch first sabotage are you going to draw? I'm saying, and I feel like he's a magnet for these cards. The punch first being the biggest one, of course. Now to go for battlefields on this game too, I don't think we've seen too many of the Veil Temple. When you conquer here, you may ready a friendly gear. Okay, if it's an equipment, you may detach it. Okay, that makes sense for Fiora, since we saw things like BF Sword, like the Dorian's Blade. I believe there's even another one there I'm forgetting. But we'll see how good that does come into play for Fiora. I'll go ahead and update the battlefields now. But Fiora on the back foot, it feels like, in this matchup.
kind of what I was saying earlier about the Fiora deck maybe not liking all these silly combat tricks, these fighter flights, these rebukes. That being said, I think the Fiora player made a very tempo-oriented decision in game one of using that counter spell to plus a punch first, and then ended up just still not winning the combat, correct? I believe it got fighter flighted. I don't quite remember exactly, but it was a lot committed, and it didn't even end up really doing too much. So that put the Sivir player in the lead, as she actually has cards. The unit was cleaned up by the champion unit, so cleaned up by board, didn't even have to commit anything from hand. And it was just a huge commitment for not much gain. And then the Fiora was just on the back foot for the rest of the game, which felt very bad.
It almost felt, you're so right. I felt like that very moment is where things really kind of took a turn for the worse for Fiora. But let's see how she's able to gather her composure, if you will, in this game number 2. Plays the BF sword and does get it onto the I believe it was the honest broker. Do you trigger the Fiora? Did she end up triggering the Fiora, because it does become mighty there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is one of the Fiora builds. There's a buff build as well, but the equipment Fiora build says, I'm just going to equip equipment to my units and make them mighty that way. And this one seems to be a bit in the middle. Oh my gosh.
We saw the main board Sabotage doing wonders for Sivir, and back at it again. A Sabotage taking out a non-unit card from Fiora's hand. 2 Kiana's, a Dorian's Blade, and a Sabotage. I'm kind of looking at Sabotage, and it looks like he agrees with me there.
Yeah, Sabotage puts in a lot of work versus these purple decks. They have so many high value spells in hand. Again, the rebukes, especially in this matchup, are going to be annoying. And that does give full knowledge. So I believe a Kiana was milled off of the... Was it milled off of the battlefield? So is that all 3 Kianas we've seen? Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Wow, so there's 2 in hand and one in the discard off the landmine, or the minefield rather. So let's see, throwing it back over to Fiora. She's going to try to stabilize. I mean, granted, there's not too much things to worry about on Sivir's board. Just a Treasure Hunter and Israel, but that Israel can get quite crazy. I'm trying to think, what optional additional cost can you kind of benefit from this Ezreal in the back? I mean, I would imagine the Accelerate, but you oftentimes want to use that from Sivir Mercenary because you do get that +2. So maybe there's another card that's optional in Body Chaos I'm not thinking about.
Well, we have seen the, what's it called again? The Sea Monkey.
Oh yeah, very true.
Yeah, so we have seen the Sea Monkey. Not saying that it's like the most value use out of Ezreal, but it does exist. Some nice little mini synergy. It also just exists as a bit of a draw engine, right? Discard 1, draw 2 on a unit. It's pretty powerful. You get a body out of it, and you get to see more cards. And with the Sivir's build, which is very trash reliant, with the Fizzes, and still haven't seen that card, but the Rasas, it does help you load up your discard as well and cycle more.
Yeah, and it looks like he doesn't even want to use Ezreal's ability. He does want to pay the 2 power, one of them being the gold, to get that +2 off the additional accelerated cost, pushing into the landmine. I keep calling it the landmine, but the minefield, going up to 3 total points. We're calling the Treasure Hunter, developing another gold token going forward. Things are looking rather good, and you mentioned it before, Fiora in a similar position in terms of card economy. She just had 2 cards before this first turn, start of turn draws, going up to 3 cards. You're not feeling so good. And in this game, there's only been a single Sabotage. Even if they had 1 additional card, they're just not looking in a great spot in terms of hand size.
Right, and there's another fighter flight saying absolutely not. Do we have a riposte? We do not. That is quite unfortunate. Fiora just can't get anything going. This game has been pretty unfortunate. It's kind of what I expected with Fiora versus the Chaos deck, though. Not exactly a matchup that is a lot of fun. So is going to be able to clear the Sivir here and finally get something going with the Fiora worthy readying itself, essentially acting as a bit of a pseudo accelerate here.
Mm-hmm. Paying the 1 order to do so, pushing forward on the very same turn it got played, going up to 3, so tying things up. Not super out of it. He's saying, can I get the Fiora legend ability? I forgot to exhaust. I mean, technically it was on the chain, and he does end up getting it because it does trigger. I mean, granted, everything in this game is kind of missable. You do have to call it out, but it looks like he was able to do it. And oh, the repose got milled from the landmine. Doesn't feel too good, because that would be a great card, because I would imagine there's another punch first lurking in the hand, or the top decks coming soon, or even a rebuke or another fight or flight, that those counters could come in super handy.
Absolutely. So Fiora finally getting a bit of board presence. Is able to stick the Fiora and our whole army of Kianas, as that again we saw 1 milled earlier, 2 on the board now. Hopefully gonna look to see a draw on the next turn with the Kiana, and hopefully see some more playable cards, because it feels like the Fiora just hasn't been able to play this entire game.
Right. You know, I don't think there's any base removal from the Sivir, so these 2 Kianas sticking in the back line might be exactly what the Fiora player needs to get back into this game, especially in terms of card economy. You're able to draw with the Kianas. You have plenty of runes. I don't think you're going to choose to recycle or to exhaust or get another rune exhausted going forward. Granted, you could only conquer one of these battlefields unless the Fiora hits the trash bin on something like a push from this Ezreal, backed up by perhaps another punch first, as we saw earlier in this match. Or they might just be able to get the whole point and then push in with the Kiana against the Treasure Hunter, and then that might be where we see the punch first. But no, the Ezreal going to go forward. Let's see what he decides to do.
Ooh, there's a punch first, as you said. Infinite punch first, no jutsu.
Oh, yeah.
And still 2 more treasure tokens left, so almost nothing paid. You get an accelerate and... Sorry, in Accelerate, you pay a single energy and 2 treasure tokens for a Conquer. So going up to 5 here, again on odd points. I feel like we've seen the Sivir player go on odd points a lot. Maybe it's intentional, maybe it's part of their game plan. Generally, I would expect the more aggressive decks to go on even points, but I mean, it's working for them. We are in the finals here.
Yeah, and speaking of working for him, these Rasas have been working for Sivir this entire tournament. Now that there's 11 cards in the trash, those Rasas getting played out virtually for free. Just a single Chaos Power getting played for those. And I think one of them was played from just a token from the gold. So I think Sivir's looking quite good. But if there's a window of opportunity for Fiora, it's going to be a double Conquer opportunity, getting 2 more cards in hand this turn. So that was Conquer number 1, going up to 4, electing to draw 1 card. So now 4 available cards, seeing a little bit more. Oh, you're using the battle. I was like, how did he weapon master it? When you conquer here, you may ready a friendly. If it's an equipment, you may detach or attach it, it says. You may detach. Okay.
Yeah. So then able to move the Dorn's Blade over, and I believe will trigger the Fiora leader, or not. Okay.
You're so right. It would have been, whoa, a Dead Bloom Predator in a Fiora build. You know, it kind of makes sense because of the mighty triggers you've been getting from Fiora. So getting to 8 a little bit faster than your opponent, I would have never expected a Dead Bloom coming out, trying to contest versus Ezreal. If there's another punch first, that's just going to be effectively tying here. So might not be the way to go, but imagine the 5th, 6th, 7th punch first this whole... I don't even know, and this top cut has been so many so far.
Yeah, this punch first card is really looking to be absolute MVP.
Oh yeah,
card has been quite strong, and I mean, be ready to pick yours up, I guess. If you're playing an orange deck, of course. I feel like we're gonna see a lot of people moving to the Chaos decks, as they have been performing pretty well. But obviously, if you are playing a body deck, punch first Should be in your deck.
What did I miss, NA? Was that a repulse? Or it had to be, right? Because the fight flight got negated, the Debloom stayed on. It had to be a repulse, right? I looked away for just a split second.
I looked away as well, so I missed it. I don't see a repulse in the discard.
No, there is. There's one, so I could only imagine
okay.
that had to be the call, but I think... Oh, that's what it is. Thank you, chat. He ended up fighter flighting. He didn't want to pay the deflect cost. Potentially has a play in mind. He doesn't want to recycle any gold or any runes. Just plays back the Ezreal, developing that board quite handsomely. 2 Ezreals, 2 Razas, and 3 cards to work with to try to push over these minefields or the other battlefield. Qiyana looking like the easier target since she's all by herself, and Fiora completely tapped out, and there's currently no buffs to any unit's name, so there's nothing like a call to glory that we oftentimes see in these order decks. So the punch first gets discarded, and a Debloom and a Hoarder are the last remaining cards. I don't know, NA, this doesn't look too great for the Fiora player. But with the Debloom currently on board, it's not looking like the worst.
You have to get over 15, which admittedly we've seen is not super difficult for these purple decks, as you do have, again, the Rebukes, the Fighter Flights, and all you have to do is get one unit out of there, and then the second you can just run over with your double Rasa. And you can go like Rasa as onto the other battlefield. I will say he is on 5, so doesn't really need to feel super pressured to take both. You could just take one and build up a push for the next turn. But going through a double cycle here with both the stack deck and a confront makes me think that there isn't immediately an answer in hand and trying to dig for something.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine I could agree. I think he's thinking about just conquering one of these battlefields like the Veiled Temple with a double unit push, because right now Qiyana's at 6 total might, so you would trade evenly with a Raza. I don't think it's worth using one of your combat tricks if you even have it, because there's been a lot of cards expended for the Sivir player. I believe now, we'll take a look at the discard while they make their play. That's all 3 fighter flights. Ride the Wind got discarded. 2 punch first or just 1? Okay, 1 punch first, and a Rebuke got discarded from the landmines or the minefields. But Raza thinking about pushing forward, kind of thinking about the turn a little bit longer, saying, wait a minute, let's really think about this. Fiora's completely tapped out. There's no buff, so it's all math here. What do I want to do? Do I want to really go big and double Ezreal? Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Maybe wants to hold the Rasas for... Okay. I guess the idea was... okay, pulling them back.
Okay.
Okay.
Wanted to play 1, but it doesn't come in readied, right?
He played Confront this turn.
Oh, so right. He definitely did.
Yeah. This is not how I would have played that, but hey, got the point. It's got a big army up on the battlefield. Is at 6, so maybe the idea is, does he play, like, there's a Ride the Wind? Ride the Wind wouldn't work because he doesn't play a lot of tall units. Maybe he's content to say, I'm gonna hold here and I do get to 8 first.
Yeah, I could only agree more. I believe this is a point tempo play. You're getting to 8 before your opponent, and we're talking about getting through 18 total might. Fiora can usually get up there, but I don't think 18 with the only 3 cards remaining in hand. You have a Dorian's Blade. You have no way of ganking over unless you have that Fiora worthy champion, but that's going to cost some runes. You played that? No, actually, I can't see a line that would allow this Debloom or Qiyana to move their way over to the Raza board. Yeah, this is tricky. I think that was a good play by Sivir, realizing they have basically won out and just try to hold for the win. You're going up to 7 next turn. And I guess this is a line for Fiora saying, if you're going to hold, I'm going to go ahead and recall all my units and try for a big push to stop you from holding from 7 to 8. But, whittling down the units on that Veil Temple. Deadbloom trading just one of the Razas for itself. Not too bad, because now you make that push, neglecting the 7 to 8 potentially easier going forward.
Yeah, this is a little bit strange. I guess the thought is you need to be a bit afraid of the Sivir signature spell that says ready everything, because you just pull everything back and then push it up. But this line loses to that, because now we can just go retreat both signature spell, push both up, and that takes the point. So if we were playing around that,
pass.
Okay, just passes.
I guess he wants to hold. Is that going to be a punch first? That would be one way to close out these grand finals. The MVP card, day in and day out, it seems like, in this whole top cut. It might just be the way this top cut ends up concluding. A Raza holding it down with that legendary card. So trying to build the offense. 8+2, bringing up to 10 total might for this Deadbloom Predator. Not currently enough. You got to get over 12. Maybe another Doran's Blade, or exactly perfect math would be a BF Sword, bringing it up to 13. That does get over, but testing the water, sending a Deadbloom, and that hurts.
There's the rebuke. I mean, it's kind of expected the way this was played, that there were answers in hand. Oh, riposte. Okay. All right. Is there another answer? There it is. There's the punch first. Riposte number 2.
Riposte number 2. Unbelievable. Seemingly having all the answers. And that was it. Sivir's final 2 cards in hand were the punch first and the rebuke, and now she has nothing available. I think this is Fiora's game. I mean, absolutely it's Fiora's game, because you conquer up to 8th. And what a match. It looks like we're finding ourselves in a game 3 situation. Well done. Who would have expected a double riposte at that very end?
Yeah, especially since we had seen the hand with Sabotage not too long ago. So definitely drew those off of maybe the Kiana Conquer and such. I will say the play in retrospect makes a little bit more sense from the Fiora, knowing that there are ripostes in hand, right? Because then you do have the riposte for the on the hunt, and then if the, in fact, it does play around that pretty well, because if the Sivir player opts to go for the on the hunt, where they retreat everything and then on the hunt push up, then they just lose the game on the spot, right? Because you riposte the on the hunt, and then the battlefield's open for your Deadbloom to push up. So in retrospect, made a lot of sense. Well played by the Fiora.
And then, hey, remind me, what did he do to buff up that the Deadbloom Predator to get over the 12?
It had a Dorn's Blade on it, and then the so the Deadbloom was actually gonna lose the battle until he he rebuked it, and then the rebuke made it go up too, and then it would have crashed. And then he opted to use the, what was the...
Oh, the double repose. Of course, that one
yeah.
text of line saying you give your counter card, the energy card, into his might. So what a brilliant play, leaning into the possible combat tricks that Sivir most likely had, is what he anticipated, putting on the might on that Deadbloom. So excellent conclusion to that game 2. As we said, we find ourselves in that final game 3. This is it, chat. The final game of the day. Who's going to be able to take it home? Is it going to be Fiora, being the first ever Fiora champion in our weekly tournaments? Or will it be Sivir claiming that title? So far, so good for the Sivir, claiming that Hillock nice and early.
Yep, pretty aggressive start from the Sivir, telling what she wants to see, and as not even going to contest the Hillock, that means that this treasure hunter is going to get a lot of value. Oh, okay,
and
this is a new card.
Quick, since this is the grand finals, I'll intervene. I'll say recycle for Sabotage, just to keep everything fair, not just so that everyone at home's happy, so everything's judge appropriate. That way everything is completely 100% by the Riftbound rules. And thank you, they did end up recycling it instead of the discard, because that does end up making a difference. It's not me picking favorites, chat. I'm not trying to help any of these players. I'm just trying to keep everything perfectly good. And in that little thing we did, and an action being played out, stealing the gold token from Sivir, that is quite cheeky.
Yeah, that's quite funny, but I don't. Did he pay the? I don't.
Oh
think
no, I
paid
guess
the
he
extra.
didn't. He
Yeah.
would have to pay two bodies, right?
Yeah, which would be a hilarious trade, right? Because you are paying two power to steal one power.
Yeah, that is a
Uh,
negative gain indeed.
yeah, and you do have to recycle your runes, whereas that gold was free.
Oh yeah.
Definitely don't want to do that.
Yeah, Akshan would be insane if it didn't have that text line saying 2 bodies as an additional cost, but not as crazy. I imagine Fiora, I mean, he played it thinking that's how it works, so maybe just this long tournament kind of getting the better of him so far, but he's going to regroup. Going forward, he does have at least a 4 might unit that's bigger than a 2 might and a 1 might currently on the board on that Hillock. Now it's time for Sivir to try to set up something, and setup is going to be the Sivir Mercenary with the accelerated cost going into the Hoarder, or not the Hoarder, I always forget the name, the Honest Broker does go up to 3, so far so good for Sivir.
Yeah, somewhat tapped out though, so we will. Hopefully, Fiora will be able to kind of play for free, but seeing a hidden card, we really haven't seen Sivir really hide anything yet, but has all the normal purple tricks available. Traditionally, that's going to be like the fight or flight. Have we seen any other hiddens?
That's the only one that rings a bell, is the fight or flight. We've seen 3 of them in game 2, a couple in game 1, so I'm willing to bet that is going to be most likely a fight or flight. I mean, in purple decks, we have seen like a switcheroo, those wind singers, I believe they're called, or the unit gust, but I don't think Sivir is playing any of those cards, so most likely just trying to protect the Sivir from a push coming out from this Fiora player with that Akshan. With that in mind, are you leaning towards pushing into the windswept Hillock then?
I think Fiora generally is going to prefer playing off of the Hillock, even though it is the Sivir's battlefield here. It gives you access to the other battlefield, and as we did see in the previous game, it wasn't the super easiest thing for Fiora to move across the battlefields, right? So being able to push up onto the Hillock then does potentially mean that you can have easier access to the other battlefield with your taller, maybe less mobile unit. I will say having access to the Fiora Worthy does make it a little bit easier, because you can choose to play her out and then retreat your guy, give it a equipment, and then push up, which was one of the plays I called out that could have been done last game. Obviously opted not to, and worked out fine.
Trying to bait out something that can get over, because it's saying Akshan's a 4. Do you dare play something like a punch first to protect this traveling merchant? It looks like Sivir doesn't feel like it's worth it, even if they did have it in hand. So going up to 2 points, conquering the Hillock for the Fiora. Let's see what they decide to play. That's looking like an orange set, if I do say so myself. So getting played out, triggering the Mighty Legend ability, getting played out for essentially no power cost. That is what Fiora does best. Does come in with a buff. So things to keep alive for. I mean, I say Call to Glory, but we've yet to see any. You think I'm just going crazy seeing other Fiora builds maybe run that card?
I've definitely seen it myself. I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest, unless you're playing like the arena bar, and at that point you're just kind of playing set.
Right.
You're just playing set without like the broken set leader ability. So you're trading off set leader ability for the ability to save your units. So for riposte. I don't know.
It's a
Maybe it's worth it.
decent trade. We saw Riposte do some wonderful things in that game too. Call shot getting played out with the repeated cost from that gold token generated before. So seeing up to 4 cards, drawing 2 of them, never a bad deal. Now you do trigger the Sivir ability +2, but you don't have ganking because you're not on the other battlefield. So just trying to trade places most likely. Wait, you do have ganking. What am I talking about? That's exactly her ability. You get +2 and ganking.
Yes, yes. The Sivir unit's pretty high mobility, which is funny because in game she is not really the most mobile hero. Just goes fast, but I guess going fast could be considered mobility.
I would say so. Definitely in this situation looking really good. 5-2 so far, but this set, nothing to look down on. He can get up so high. I mean, right now if he's using his buff, he's going to be swinging in for 8 total might. That's going to be enough for any of these units. The hidden card is still there, so even if you're thinking about conquering the easier target, being that treasure hunter, you're probably better off going for the Sivir mercenary. With that being said though, there's 6 cards, there's 6 runes available for Sivir, so if there's a fight or flight that's hidden, there's most likely a fight or flight in hand that can just be played out as an action during that showdown. So I have a funny feeling this set might not be able to conquer either of these battlefields this turn.
How do you think this works? If Set uses his buff for his ability, does he go down to 4 might for like a second before it resolves?
I believe that's how it's ruled. Yeah.
So you would get the Fiora leader ability if he did spend the buff, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, interesting. He chose not to use the buff though.
Yeah. The only reason I would imagine would be with that card I mentioned before, trying to, I mean, actually, no, it would still get you effectively less might than, actually the same exact, no, less might than you would by using it. But here goes Punch First, I'll say number 1 of game 3. Punch First trying to save the Sivir mercenary. Is it going to be enough? That's currently 5 + 4, that's, wait, and the 2, so 11 total might, but the Repose coming down on that Punch First. Repose has to be the MVP card for Fiora, no doubt.
I thought that he would use the buff on the Fiora, to be honest. I guess you can't. So the way I thought this was going to play out is you would go ahead and play your Fiora, push the setup and try and conquer, and then what you can do is once you conquer, then you can use the set ability to give himself the bonus might, right? And then that'll end up triggering the Fiora, so that readies the set, and then you can set gank over.
Okay.
But it's like, oh, and there's the rebuke. And none of it ever mattered.
Right, perhaps baiting out the Repose, saving the rebuke to the very end, knowing that it's very unlikely for them to have a second Repose. But let's see if they play out. I was gonna say, no, they didn't have enough runes, because if you play out the set champion, both of the Fiora champion and the legend would trigger, but just having 1 rune shy of that. Gonna be playing out the Kiana just to develop the base, but things are looking rather good for Sivir. I believe he goes up to 7 here. 1 more point away to crown our first ever Sivir champion, and doing it in an excellent fashion. This has to be the best Sivir build I mean, I've personally seen. I would never imagine to build it with things like the Rasa package, with things like a battlefield like Minefield. Very interesting decision making, but it looks like it's paying very well off this whole tournament run.
Yeah, definitely performing pretty well today. The Punch First card putting in a ton of work, and when you combine it with all the crazy purple cards like the Rebukes and Fighter Flights, and I'm surprised we haven't seen a Ride the Win.
Right.
I don't know if he's playing it, but that is traditionally one of the really strong purple cards.
He was playing it. I saw it in the Discord there. Maybe not this game, but one of these games I saw it in the Discord.
Okay, interesting. Still haven't seen it, but yeah, you get to combine this crazy buff card. The Sabotage has been putting in a lot of work too, just preemptively looking at the hand, ripping out an answer, and triggering your leader ability all in one card. Seems to be pretty high value.
Super high value, and you know this is it. And can the Sivir player hold down the Orn's Forge? They have one card that's most likely Fight or Flight. they have access to perhaps another Rebuke with the purple Chaos Rune and the gold token, 2 gold tokens, mind you. So this is a card we do not see every day. Gentleman's Duel, give a friendly unit +3 this turn, then choose an enemy unit, deal that damage equal to its might to each other. So who did he decide to choose? I would imagine one's a 4, one's a 3 in the back line. Either or, it results in the Sivir getting taken out. So just a treasure hunter. Is there a world where there's not 2 pushback spells? I feel like Sivir might still hold it down with the treasure hunter.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if there were, to be honest. 4 runes up, not committing anything to the board, so still could be a punch first, it could be a rebuke, it could be a fight or flight. They're kind of infinite cards that do it here.
Oh, Fiora Post. That will be GG unless there's another unit that comes down for 2 that can get buffed up for Mighty that very turn. It almost sounds impossible because it is. Fiora will be going down at the hands of the Sivir player. Well done.
You can still do it.
What happened?
Did he scoop? You can still do it. Did he scoop? You can go like Dorn's Blade attach to Fiora.
Right. Yeah, I might be speaking too soon. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. But did he? Well, seeing as the players aren't doing anything, he probably doesn't have that.
Yeah, we are talking about just 3 cards in hand. He didn't have the Repose, but I like your line of play. Dorian's Blade, put it on one of these units, triggered the Fiora Worthy Champion, readied it, and there it goes. GG is said by the Fiora player, and that is it, chat. Fiora, Sivir taking down this weekly tournament number 7.